There's a war going on outside no man is safe from. Yeah, man. Are we on the brink of a new global conflict? From the eerie silence of those with power to the sudden, rapid movements of military forces across global hotspots, the signs are both subtle and startling. As alliances shift and old rivalries awaken, the pieces of a dangerous puzzle are coming together. What spark could ignite this powder keg? Let's explore the hidden signals and unspoken threats in this precarious moment in history. Are we merely spectators or standing at the edge of another world war?
Trenches deep, streets on fire, crackling heat, heavy desire, a battlefield where hopes expire. No man safe, no one can retire. Gritty blocks, shadows creeping, bodies fall, secrets keeping. Fear is spreading, heart sweeping, pain and struggle, never sleeping. Gunshots echo, silent sound, children praying on the ground, innocence lost, can't be found. Everywhere we look, darkness surrounds.
In today's rapidly changing world, the complex dynamic of international relations is dangerously close to chaotic. At the heart of this chaos are the United States, Israel, Ukraine, Taiwan, Russia, China, Iran, Palestine, and North Korea, each playing a critical role that could either stabilize or unravel the delicate balance of global peace. The United States finds itself neck-deep in a geopolitical chess game, stretching its influence from the plains of Eastern Europe to the vast waters of the Pacific. Its commitment to defending democratic ideals and maintaining international order is tested as it faces off against rivals and nurtures alliances with nations like Ukraine and Taiwan, both of whom sit precariously on the doorstep of aggressive neighbors. Israel, a nation born from the ashes of conflict and continuously at the center of geopolitical drama, navigates an ugly relationship with Palestine. Both entities stand as symbols of a long and painful struggle, with every move on either side watched closely by the international community, influencing policies and provoking military posturing in equal measure. Meanwhile, Russia and China, two colossal forces, stretch their muscles on the global stage. Russia's actions in Ukraine have sent shockwaves through the international community, raising alarms about its ambitions in Eastern Europe and beyond. Simultaneously, China's assertive policies in Taiwan and its strategic maneuvers in the South China Sea challenge the status quo, demanding a recalibration of alliances and strategies among neighboring nations and global powers alike. Then there's Iran and North Korea, each isolated yet influential, wielding their nuclear ambitions as both shield and spear. Iran's tenuous relationships with Western powers and its regional adversaries keep the Middle East in a perpetual state of alert. At the same time, North Korea's unpredictable leadership and its continued development of long-range missiles have the potential to destabilize the entire Asia-Pacific region. These nations, each with their unique agendas and fears, contribute to a global puzzle that is complex and volatile. What will be the tipping point? Who will make the next move? And how will the delicate balance of power shift in response? Join us as we unravel the layers of this global dilemma, exploring the decisions, the diplomacy, and the potential disasters waiting in the wings. Witness the hidden motives driving the world to the brink of war. Welcome to a new global conflict. The shadow of history defines our world today. Past conflicts, betrayals, and alliances shape the present landscape where war and peace hang precariously in the balance. Beginning with the Cold War's chilling legacy, the United States and Russia have danced a delicate ballet of rivalry and reluctant cooperation. The dissolution of the Soviet Union marked a brief moment of unipolar dominance by the US, which quickly evaporated as Russia reasserted itself under a leadership determined to restore its former glory and influence, particularly felt in its aggressive movements in Ukraine. This resurgence directly challenges the West's vision of a global order, reigniting decades-old tensions. In Asia, the echoes of World War II and subsequent conflicts are ever apparent through the relationship between China and Taiwan. The Chinese Communist Party views Taiwan as a renegade province, essential to its national identity and global stature. The U.S., through strategic ambiguity, supports Taiwan, creating a flashpoint capable of drawing major powers into conflict. In the Middle East, the creation of Israel in 1948 and the tragic displacement of thousands of Palestinians set the stage for a series of conflicts that have angered generations. The U.S. has historically stood as Israel's staunch ally, providing military and diplomatic support, which has often put it at odds with Arab nations and Iran. Iran, following its Islamic Revolution, has positioned itself as a central player in Middle Eastern politics, often opposing Western influence and supporting proxy groups to extend its reach and protect its interests. North Korea, isolated and militarized, uses its nuclear program as both a shield against perceived Western aggression and a lever in international negotiations. Its unpredictable behavior continues to destabilize regional security dynamics, especially concerning its neighbors South Korea and Japan, both of whom rely on the U.S. for security guarantees. These geopolitical tensions are not merely remnants of history. They are continually exacerbated by new political dynamics, economic competitions, and technological advancements. The power struggle is like a game where national leaders play for the highest rewards: territorial sovereignty, economic dominance, and global influence. Amidst this backdrop of historical grievances and contemporary ambitions, the question isn't merely whether these nations will tip into conflict, but rather, when and how. As we peel back the layers of this complex global narrative, each revelation brings us closer to understanding the potential triggers that could ignite a new global conflict, forever altering the course of history. Now it's essential to understand the main conflicts shaping our world. Each of these confrontations not only holds the potential to escalate into broader conflicts, but also reflects a deeper historical context that continues to influence international relations today. The USA and Russia have been in a power struggle that dates back to the Cold War era, when the world was distinctly divided into two ideological camps. This long-standing rivalry has recently intensified in various arenas, including cyberspace, outer space, and conflict zones like Syria. The dissolution of the USSR in 1991 temporarily diminished Russia's global stature, leading to a unipolar world dominated by the US. However, Russia's resurgence under Vladimir Putin's leadership has reignited tensions, marked by a renewed push for influence in Eastern Europe and the Middle East. The annexation of Crimea in 2014, support for the Assad regime in Syria, and allegations of election interference have all served to rekindle this decades-old rivalry. Today, each nation watches the other, where a single misstep could lead back to the chilling depths of Cold War-era hostilities. The conflict between Israel and Palestine is one of the most volatile in the world. Stemming from the post-World War II decision to establish a Jewish homeland in a region with a substantial Arab population, the ensuing strife has led to multiple wars and continuous unrest. Central to the conflict are issues such as the borders of Israel and the sovereignty of Palestine, the status of Jerusalem, and the right of return for Palestinian refugees. Each attempt at peace has faltered, leaving a trail of despair and intermittent violence. The international community remains divided, with many countries supporting different sides, thereby complicating the peace process further and ensuring that the dispute remains a central point of global tension. The annexation of Crimea by Russia in 2014 marked a significant escalation in the tension between Russia and Ukraine, a conflict that has deep historical roots tracing back to Eastern Slav unity under the Kievan Rus. This move was perceived in the West as a blatant violation of international law and resulted in widespread sanctions against Russia. The conflict in eastern Ukraine, spurred on by separatist movements and Russian support, continues to destabilize the region. This threatens not just regional but global security, as Western powers and NATO have become directly involved, heightening the risk of more conflict. Taiwan's status and its relationship with China is one of the most sensitive issues in international politics. Stemming from the Chinese Civil War, when the nationalists retreated to Taiwan and the communists established the People's Republic of China, The One China policy insists there is only one sovereign state under the name China. The tension has escalated in recent years with China's increased military maneuvers around Taiwan and stern warnings against any formal independence moves. The U.S., while officially acknowledging the One China policy, continues to provide Taiwan with defensive support, making it a focal point of tensions between America and China. The relationship between Iran and the USA has been tense since the 1979 Iranian Revolution, which saw the overthrow of the Shah, a key U.S. ally. The subsequent U.S. Embassy hostage crisis marked the beginning of a hostile relationship characterized by sanctions and mutual suspicion. The landmark 2015 nuclear deal, JCPOA, aimed to curb Iran's nuclear capabilities in exchange for lifting economic sanctions, offering a rare moment of cooperation. However, in 2018, the U.S. withdrawal from the agreement under President Trump reignited tensions with Iran resuming its nuclear activities and strengthening its regional influence through proxy networks in Yemen, Lebanon, and Syria. North Korea's nuclear ambitions have long been a source of global concern, particularly for the United States. The secretive nature of the North Korean regime, combined with its demonstrated willingness to develop and test nuclear weapons, has led to a precarious standoff. Periodic diplomatic efforts, including high-profile summits under President Trump, have yielded limited success in de-escalating tensions. The persistent threat of nuclear proliferation on the Korean Peninsula continues to challenge U.S. foreign policy and regional security, maintaining a status quo that is as fragile as it is dangerous. Iran does not recognize the State of Israel, frequently denouncing its legitimacy and supporting anti-Israeli factions, notably Hezbollah in Lebanon and Hamas in the Palestinian territories. Iran's influence in these organizations, coupled with its call for the eradication of Israel, has led to Israel categorizing Iran as one of its most significant existential threats. Adding to the complexity is Iran's nuclear program, which Israel perceives as a direct menace to its survival. Despite Iran's insistence that its nuclear ambitions are for peaceful purposes, Israel fears that a nuclear-armed Iran would be emboldened in its regional aggression. This has led Israel to repeatedly state that it is prepared to take unilateral military action against Iranian nuclear facilities if it deems such a step necessary to ensure its national security. Both countries remain on high alert, with the international community watching closely, knowing that any significant escalation could have far-reaching consequences, not just for the Middle East, but for global stability. Each of these points illustrates not just isolated disputes, but interconnected crises that have the potential to destroy international order, painting a picture of a world at a critical crossroads.
Iran has threatened to attack Israel after an attack on an Iranian consular building in Syria earlier this month killed 11 people, including 2 Iranian generals. Responding to Iran's warning, Israel said it is prepared for any attack and will retaliate directly to any provocation from Iran. The US is also trying to deter Iran from carrying out retaliatory strikes. The White House has said that support to Israel's security is ironclad.
No American citizen should consider traveling to Russia for any reason, period, because they are at risk of detention.
Americans are in Russian custody at a time where tensions between the two countries are on the rise.
In 1948, Israel declared independence, which was followed by the first of what would be many wars between Israel and its Arab neighbors. Hundreds of thousands of Arabs were evicted, an event known in the Arab world as the Nakba, the catastrophe. More than 500,000 fled to refugee camps in the West Bank, Gaza, Jordan, Lebanon, and Syria.
Russian-controlled Crimea has been coming under increasing attack from Ukraine. The territory annexed by Moscow 9 years ago is now an active battlefront in the war between the two. Once seen as a fortress of Moscow's military might, the latest attack in Sevastopol has shown Ukraine is capable of reaching targets far beyond the front lines.
Is China going to attack Taiwan? It's a question we ask all the time. It's a question we've been asking too frequently of late. That's because the threat is growing with every passing day. China sees self-ruled Taiwan as a breakaway province that will eventually be under its control. Beijing has repeatedly vowed to take it one day, even by force, if necessary.
From 1941 to 1979, Mohammad Reza Shah Pahlavi, a close partner of the United States, had ruled Iran. He modernized Iran while forcefully suppressing dissent and political freedoms. The clergy opposed the Shah's social and economic reforms. Discontent grew until in 1978, anti-Shah demonstration spread across the mostly Shia country. Strikes and mass protests erupted, and accusation flew that the Shah was the U.S. puppet.
I've requested the floor in today's plenary meeting to address the undeniable threat North Korea poses to international peace and security. This conference is a critical forum for addressing the major arms control, non-proliferation, and security problems facing the international community, and there is perhaps no bigger challenge to the global security environment than North Korea's continued development of prohibited weapons programs and its increasingly provocative and dangerous actions.
Despite the prospect of war always looming over us, there is still a compelling argument to be made for the potential of diplomacy to not only mitigate tensions, but to pave the way for enduring peace. This perspective holds that through sustained dialogue, mutual understanding, and international cooperation, the seemingly irreconcilable disputes among nations might be resolved amicably. Despite the long history of rivalry, there have been significant periods of successful negotiation and cooperation between the USA and Russia. The Strategic Arms Reduction Treaties, START.
Under the treaty, the United States and Russia regularly exchange data, or notifications, on the location, movement, and disposition of their strategic nuclear weapons.
And their contributions to the International Space Station project are testaments to what can be achieved when these superpowers work together. Diplomatic channels have remained open, suggesting that both nations acknowledge the mutual benefits of managing their competition through dialogue rather than through conflict. The Oslo Accords in the 1990s, although ultimately unsuccessful in resolving the conflict entirely, demonstrated that progress is possible through direct negotiations. Recent normalization agreements between Israel and several Arab nations, brokered by the USA, suggest a new regional framework that could eventually include Palestine, offering a fresh avenue for peace initiatives. The Minsk agreements, brokered by the European Union with the involvement of other international actors, show that diplomatic efforts can lead to ceasefires and discussions, even if progress has been halting. The potential for a neutral peacekeeping force or more effective diplomatic interventions remains a subject of consideration and could pave the way for a more stable resolution. Cross-strait relations have seen both highs and lows, but periods of increased economic and social exchanges hint at the potential for a more peaceful coexistence. Initiatives such as the 1992 Consensus have previously helped reduce tensions, suggesting that renewed diplomatic efforts could foster a more stable status quo. The Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, JCPOA, or the Iran nuclear deal, originally demonstrated that international diplomacy could effectively address even the most severe threats, such as nuclear proliferation. The possibility of renegotiating remains a viable pathway to de-escalating tensions. The intermittent diplomatic engagements, including summits between North Korean and American leaders, have shown flashes of potential for a diplomatic resolution to decades-long hostilities. These interactions underline the fact that dialogue remains possible and could be expanded with consistent and strategic international support. Although Iran and Israel are viewed as staunch adversaries, the potential for diplomatic solutions should not be entirely dismissed. Initiatives such as back-channel negotiations, facilitated by international mediators, could help reduce tensions. Furthermore, leveraging common interests such as stability in neighboring regions and combating extremism might provide groundwork for dialogue. While direct negotiations appear unlikely in the immediate future, the broader international community's involvement could help establish protocols to prevent escalation and foster a more predictable regional order, emphasizing diplomacy over confrontation. In each of these scenarios, while challenges and setbacks are undeniable, the history and potential of diplomatic achievements offer a hopeful counterpoint to the narratives of inevitable conflict. By championing diplomacy and reinforcing international institutions, there remains a plausible route towards a more peaceful global order, underscoring the power of patience, negotiation, and international law in resolving global disputes. As we conclude our exploration of the geopolitical tensions gripping our world, it's crucial to recognize the profound implications these conflicts hold for each nation involved and the global community at large. For the USA and Russia, the ongoing power struggle threatens to plunge the world back into a new Cold War, with implications reaching far beyond their own borders. As two nuclear superpowers jostle for influence, every move carries the potential for catastrophic consequences. The conflict between Israel and Palestine, with its roots stretching back generations, continues to fuel regional instability and violence. The failure to find a lasting solution not only perpetuates suffering for those directly involved, but also fans the flames of extremism across the Middle East. In Ukraine, the annexation of Crimea by Russia and the ongoing conflict in the Donbas region represent a direct challenge to the post-Cold War order in Europe. The risk of further escalation looms large, with the potential to redraw the geopolitical map of the continent. The tension between Taiwan and China threatens to upend the delicate balance of power in the Asia-Pacific region. As both nations refuse to back down, the risk of a catastrophic conflict grows, drawing in major global players like the USA and potentially reshaping the global order. The Iranian nuclear issue remains a ticking time bomb with the potential to destabilize the entire Middle East. As Iran inches closer to nuclear capability, the risk of a regional arms race and direct conflict with Israel grows, threatening to engulf the entire region in chaos. The ongoing standoff between North Korea and the USA continues to pose a significant threat to global security. With North Korea's nuclear capabilities advancing and diplomatic efforts faltering, the risk of a catastrophic conflict on the Korean peninsula remains ever present. Finally, the simmering tensions between Iran and Israel represent a flashpoint with the potential to ignite the entire Middle East. As both nations fight for influence and security, the risk of a direct military confrontation grows, with potentially devastating consequences for the region and beyond. In conclusion, the world stands on the brink of a new era of conflict. As these tensions continue to escalate, it's essential for the international community to come together, prioritize diplomacy over confrontation, and work towards peaceful resolutions that safeguard the future of our planet. Let's continue to monitor these developments closely, knowing that the fate of our world hangs in the balance. We invite you to share your thoughts and insights in the comments below. How do you perceive these international tensions? What do you think are the most viable paths to peace? Do you see areas where diplomacy might still prevail? Or are there situations where conflict seems inevitable? Your perspectives enrich our discussions, and by sharing them, you contribute to a broader understanding of these complex issues. Moreover, if you found today's discussion interesting, we encourage you to explore more videos on our channel. Each video is designed not just to inform, but to provoke thought and encourage further research and discussion. Don't forget to like this video if you appreciated the insights shared today, and subscribe to our channel for more in-depth analysis of international affairs. Your engagement helps us to keep producing content that matters to you and to a global audience interested in these critical topics. Lastly, consider sharing this video with friends, family, or colleagues who have an interest in geopolitics. By spreading knowledge and fostering discussion, we can all contribute to a more informed and thoughtful global community, better equipped to tackle the challenges and opportunities of the 21st century. Thank you for watching and for participating in this vital conversation about the future of our world. We look forward to hearing your views and continuing to explore these important issues together. Join us again as we uncover more about the forces that shape our lives and our planet. And remember, every voice matters in shaping the path towards a more peaceful, stable world.